Hello, MouseHunt, and welcome to Feedback Friday for September 16, 2022. Look at that, I got the date right. Hello, good morning, afternoon, or evening. Hey, my horn's ready right off the bat. Let's go on a hunt. Hope everybody in the chat is doing well. Looks like we have about 50 hunters hanging out already on this fine morning. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you happen to be joining us from. Hello, Kyle loves this song. Hello, hello. Math had some twisted cheddar this morning. Okay, well, it was good. Kyle, ever going to do anything with the charm conduit? It has been removed from the game, so that's a pretty firm no. Karen, the MouseHunt album needs to be put back up on Spotify. I thought it was still up on there. Oh, yeah, maybe I have to double check a little later. I thought Michelle tracked it down. It was still up there, but maybe not. Could be wrong. Matt just hit 50 Mythweavers, halfway to a crown. Best of luck. Making some good headway. KDM, hello to you. Celine, good morning. Right back at you. Math, good morning as well. Diamond, hello, hello. Matt Screenspace, hey Dave, hello to you as well. Lady Nutsy, good morning. Always nice to see you as well. Eric, Daniel, Yuroshira. Laid back forever. Says hello, Dave. Hope you're feeling laid back today. Squid hunting again, indeed. We're doing a little bit more hunting of Archie. I'm trying to get 8,000 pennies so I can afford Golden Quill. And then I think I'm going to be having some laid-back, chill fishing adventures with some grabine after that. That's my immediate mouse hunt goals anyway. Matt says, Dates and Dave, great combo. Eat some. Oh dear, I have a propensity to mess up dates quite frequently. Well, today, thought we'd explore a couple topics on Feedback Friday. One being some upcoming changes to the horn that we're working on, kind of visual updates of how you experience the horn, take it all in, the experience of sounding the horn. Kind of long overdue, give it a little visual update as well. It's one of the older illustrations in the game. That said, it's very iconic, so we want to run it by hunters as well. Get your first impressions, your suggestions, your feedback, make sure kind of everything's in a good, happy place before it makes its way into the game as well, because hey, it's the thing you click most often, right? Like you come back every 15 minutes to click this horn, and so we want to make sure we don't step on any toes or haven't thought of something. Make sure everyone, or as many people as we can, are liking some of the changes that we're working on there, of just how the hunter's horn looks and feels in the web browser anyway. Not so much the mobile app, just the web browser version of the game. As we'll take a look at just a little bit of ideation we're working on in terms of reorganizing your regions a bit. So we've been working on the Great Winter Hunt, and this year we're looking to expand it and to include 3 locations, and that was kind of enough both geographically and narratively to split it into its own region dedicated just to the Winter Hunt. And hey, while we're in there, the team, we were kind of messing around a little bit or playing around with where some other areas could go. Maybe break up Rodentia, so we'll get into that, see what hunters think. But again, a lot of just kind of work in progress, ideation stuff. We want to kind of get everyone's sentiments, early impressions to help us guide final decisions, even if we go one way or another. Faisal pops on and says, evening to you. You must be in a much different time zone. Well, good evening to you. Packaday, you just got your Golden Quill last night. Well, congratulations on the Golden Quill. And the final quills, they kind of really help with a little bit of consistency. I mean, running into the Mythweaver, hunting with Final Draft, sometimes it goes incredibly well, sometimes it goes not so well, and everything in between. But those quills really help tip the scale a little bit in your favor and reduce how often, you write a volume 2 or a volume 3, maybe sometimes a volume 1, but those quills kind of help reduce how often that happens. And actually, I got Silver Quill not too long ago, and I set a personal best, so felt good. Matt, you come back every 15 minutes because you forgot what happened previously. Well, that's a good transition here into the Hunter's Horn and some of the things that the team has been working on behind the scenes. Like I said, we want to get your initial impressions, feedback, make sure we're not kind of going in a completely wrong direction before it makes its way into the game. But a lot of it's just visual overhaul. Like I said, it's one of the older assets in the game. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Jacob worked on some of this illustration on Feedback Friday, actually. But the very original horn, the one in the game right now, I think that might be pretty darn close to being 15 years old. And even, I think it's an animated GIF. And definitely could be a lot smoother of an animation. Just kind of modernize it, update it, give it a bit of a fresh coat of paint. And so here I grabbed a few samples here. There's a screen cap on a loop of sounding the horn over and over. Even kind of slowed down the internet connection a little bit so you can see the load time. Kind of the horn will sound until it's done, and then it'll immediately finish, go away, and update your journal. And you can do a live demo of that as well. And then also grabbed a couple screenshots here of one, just the horn being ready, and kind of a new template for what it looks like when there is a problem with the horn or an error, some messaging that needs to show up. And this one, Hunter 5, I probably could have picked a more creative name for that person. But Hunter 5 recently took me on a hunt. So that is, hey, if a friend takes you on a hunt and you try to sound the horn, this little signboard drops down on a rope to let you know what happened. Yeah, Bishop Horn Cosmetics. I think that was a topic of discussion on a Feedback Friday with Jacob as well. Might be kind of something interesting to explore in the future anyway. The new horn looks very cool, but can we opt out of the new animation? I don't think so, no. I think we're just going to have to kind of bite the bullet here and just, sometimes it could be a bit of an adjustment period to get used to something when it looks different. We want to make sure we're not going in completely the wrong direction, but I mean, kind of too many toggles and what have you, it kind of makes it a little bit harder to maintain the game over a time. And so, where possible, we like to kind of streamline and make sure everyone's having the same experience. It makes it easier to test things as well. You're not kind of testing multiple versions of the same thing. So, hopefully we haven't strayed too far. But that's kind of the point of this Feedback Friday topic. Try to test the waters here, get some early impressions. Bishop says a fancier horn as your rank increases. Some creative ideas. The word Hunter's horn looks a bit squished, otherwise like the new animation. Yeah, that might be a good observation. Even on the still frame, Hunter's horn might be just a little squished. Maybe you could stretch that out a bit. The top one is nice. Well, they are one and the same. So that one's just a screenshot of the horn being ready. And the one at the very top, I recorded a video of sounding the horns. You can kind of see the animation. I slowed down not slowed it down, but I throttled my internet connection to simulate a little bit of latency where it might take half a second for the horn to sound. But on a speedy internet connection, as soon as a response comes back to know what you caught, the horn just stops animating and the journal updates. The end of the animation seems a bit choppy, doesn't quite stop at its starting point. That might be the video as well. We'll see. That might be a good segue to load up an actual demo. Hey, it's working. Sweet. So here I'm in an actual kind of test environment of the game where we've got the new horn loaded up. And one thing to note as well, kind of had on the last screen, was now you can finally see your current hunting location while the horn is ready. You'll notice that thumbnail and the name of your location is visible even while the horn's up. That's something that's kind of been a mild annoyance, at least of mine, for many years. I'll come back, the horn's ready, and if I'm in an area where I travel around a lot, I mean, the HUD's a pretty good feedback mechanism as well, but sometimes I just like to read where I am. Can we incorporate our trap check status into the new horn? That's a good suggestion. I think maybe a little outside the scope of the horn update. But yeah, that'd be a good idea as well, just to maybe be able to get a little bit more direct feedback of when your trap check is, especially because it's a little different for everybody, a little reminder of when yours is. Matt, to be honest, I don't notice much of a difference. Hey, that might mean we're onto something where we're paying homage to the existing look and feel of the horn. We haven't, colored outside the lines too far here, so to say, or so to speak. That, hey, it kind of captures the essence of what the horn used to look like. Just wanted to update the asset a bit, give it a little bit higher resolution. Can see the little sheen there when it's ready. Horn skin seems like a popular suggestion, something to explore down the road, but we'll see. Maybe you could let it bling to catch our attention easier, letting us know to sound the horn. There is a little bit of a sheen there. Let's see if it'll pop back up every now and then. You like that the background is slightly visible behind the horn, says Dallas. Glad to hear it. Yeah, a little bit more I am here. I know I was kind of playing, the team was playing around a little bit with the exact kind of opacity levels there to get the essence of the header illustration behind you. While still making sure the horn has the strongest kind of silhouette up there. Can you list how many friends are at your current location? You can see that if you scroll down here. Now I'm in a test environment, so there's not too many people, but you can kind of see how many friends are in your location there. And remember too, some changes, it might tie into the region discussion a little later, with some changes to how Friend Hunt works. You need to be in the same region now, not the same specific location. So anyone in your region can now take you on a hunt. And see even too, I can demo this. I got another copy of this test environment running in a different browser as a different player here. And yeah, you can kind of see sounded the horn in another browser as somebody else, and we're friends. I got taken on a hunt. The other person's in the windmill while I'm in the meadow. Sounded the horn in the windmill, taking me on a hunt. Hunter number 5 took me on a hunt 1 second ago. And click to dismiss it if you want to get it out of your face a little sooner than it fades away. You missed the old text about having the courage to sound the horn. That takes us back a little bit. Actually, we were trying to dig up, and maybe Karen, maybe you might be able to find a screenshot from long ago. We were trying to find a screenshot of MouseHunt version 1. I don't know if anyone has one, just kind of either on their social media, chilling out in an email, but we cannot find any screenshots of the old gray interface. It looked absolutely nothing like this, but the interface was kind of gray and black themed. But it only existed for a few months, so it's very hard to find. Bigger regions, the better. You left Friend Hunts. That is one potential downside. When we kind of get into the looking over the region, we're looking to break up Rodentia a little bit into multiple regions. But, you know, it is kind of maybe awkward timing with the change to Friends Hunting. That does kind of mean now Rodentia, it doesn't kind of cast as wide of a net. That said, you know, don't like to make decisions on kind of future what ifs, but we were thinking that that's kind of the first step into even trying to make how friends bring you on hunt even more fun, give you more agency and autonomy. Huge grain of salt there. That's in the idea bank. Absolutely no timeline, no concrete plans there. So, you know, it's difficult to make a decision based on kind of a what if, but definitely that was kind of the design direction, opening it up and kind of making it a more fun process of figuring out, well, how do your friends sound the horn? How's that a more meaningful, fun interaction? But that might be a bit of a tangent for this Feedback Friday anyway. Sarah, what about more info regarding the daily draw? That's kind of in the backlog to overhaul at one point, but no immediate plans. So kind of it needs a lot of love, but unfortunately we're a small team and there's many other projects that need attention as well. So we haven't been able to prioritize the daily draw. Matt, any thought about banking horn calls if you've been away? You know, maybe on the topic of the horn as well. That did come up in a little bit of the ideation with the team. I get nervous to even speak of it because it's absolutely zero plan to act upon anything in the immediate future. But we did kind of have a bit of a eureka moment idea of your trap checks working that way, where they kind of, you come back and you get to claim your trap checks. So you're present when they happen. Something we've struggled with over the years, especially new players, is communicating how trap checks work, reminding you, hey, it's a thing. And then even when you get used to it, that kind of lack of agency and autonomy over exactly when they happen, you come back and like, oh, right, I had a trap check. And you kind of, you know, maybe you're at a moment where you wanted to change your trap setup. You know, it's not too often, but, you know, in the labyrinth, you're getting ready to pick a door at an intersection like that. And, you know, it does change the game a little bit in that now you could save them up and use them at a strategic moment. But it also sounds kind of fun. But, you know, anyway, a bit of a tangent because absolutely no immediate plans for any sort of change like that. But it's interesting. It was a discussion that came up with the development team as well. Karen, you're going to dig. Sounds good. Digging for a screenshot for sure. If anyone has ever come across one, whether it's social media or on Discord or a screenshot of the super old original 2007, I'm going to say, interface of the game. It was like how it looked during the beta version. And that might be a little nod of what this week's trivia question may involve, but we'll get to that then. Dallas Platinum Horn when? Well, probably never. KDM, how about letting us know which friends we went on a hunt while sounding our horn? That's a pretty neat idea as well. Claiming trap checks would be nice so you don't accidentally waste a hunt on a horn with the double hunt. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, again, not to get too far off topic because I want to make clear there's no plans to do that. But it's been chilling in the idea bank, and it's a welcome discussion amongst players as well. But I just want to make clear, it's not like that's a decision we've made and we're going forward with, but kind of it's an interesting thought. It's an interesting idea to explore. Kind of want to see what hunters think about that as well. And hey, as it kind of comes up in discussion as the months and years roll by, it's kind of good food for thought. The right idea at the right time and place is often when you can act on it. But you do wonder if it gets too close to a typical mobile game's energy system. Yeah, kind of. It has similarities there, where you kind of come back and it's like, oh, now you get 5 turns. You know, you have 5 energy to spend on 5 actions. But ultimately, you know, it needs more fleshing out. It needs some prototyping as well. It's the type of thing you'd put in the game and play it for a bit and see how it feels. Speaking of hunting, I can go on a hunt. What's going to happen? I think something bad's going to happen. I failed to catch. I made 25 pieces of Stormy. I'm hoping to end up on 8,000 coins. I currently have 5,500 or so. We'll see. Hopefully 25 cheese is enough. Matt, you have tons of screenshots, but nothing prior to 2009. I think it's going to be a hard find, that original interface. Sean, banking horn calls makes you feel too close to another game that had ghosts kind of ruin the game, eh? Yeah, you definitely got to kind of pull it off correctly, right? And that's why it needs experimentation, playtesting. I should be continuing to sound this horn to demo it here. Another change as well, as mentioned back here. Let me see here. I tried to... Yeah, the updated illustration of the horn, just kind of modernizing it, but I think keeping the same essence of the look and feel of the horn. I dare say maybe we even look at the live game. We could kind of compare. My horn isn't ready though, so that's a little awkward. That new kind of messaging system as well. The location being visible even when the horn is up and you're ready to hunt. But as well, traveling. Kind of a couple little tweaks to travel. So where else can I go here? Let's go to the town in Anya. I'll even scroll down on the page a little bit. So now when you travel, you get returned to camp. The page goes back up to the top. You can kind of see that header illustration and the name of the environment you're in, the HUD. Odds are after you travel, you probably want to then kind of resume hunting. You want to use the heads-up display. You want to maybe change your trap setup, check your cheese, look at your journal, right? It's unlikely you want to continue to look at the travel page. So this is something we're kind of playing with as part of this update as well, is when you travel, have you returned to camp? And actually both on browser and the mobile version of the game. Mobile's a little harder to demo here from my computer, but have you returned to camp? And even on mobile, a little message popping up saying you traveled to the town in Anya, and that slides back down to the bottom just for a brief moment. So does it shine when hovering over the horn? If not, would that be possible? It periodically shines. It does have a little glow. You can kind of see it's subtle, just enough to kind of, you know how like a button will light up. See this reveal mouse? Typically often in just interfaces when you hover, something will slightly change color to let you know, hey, don't worry, your mouse is inside the click box of this button. You're good. If you click that button on your mouse, it will click that button and boom. And so the horn just kind of gets a little bit more golden, almost like a spotlight's hitting it from below. I muted. I don't think I muted. I think you might be trying to pull a quick one on me, Hobbles. Check your end of things. Michelle says just here. Yeah, I can see my output here. Seems okay. Ooh, that glow is neat. But especially with the HUDs, as you kind of go down here, if we go to maybe a beefier area with a larger, taller HUD, I think maybe Fungal Cavern might still be the reigning champion of terms of HUD with the, or area with the HUD that has the most height. So you kind of travel there, slide up. It's a good call to action. You know, hey, the next thing you're going to see is the header illustration, kind of reinforce, yes, that's where you are, that's where you've traveled. As well as you get, you know, the heads-up display for that area is right in your face, which, hey, this is very handy because I can see I got to change my trap setup because I have an arcane trap. That won't do. First catches coming in crazy here. This account has not hunted very much. Just starts as an Archduke with no capturing any mice. Luke, you think Jen may have a few old screenshots? That might be worth digging up. We'll see. If you want a higher HUD, join a train. That's a good call, actually. Trains and tournaments will make that heads-up display a little taller. Hey, CCM, welcome to Feedback Friday. Hope you're doing well today. The Fort Rocks HUD. Now we're looking for the tallest HUD possible. Fort Rocks is Environment Valley. This is interesting too, kind of as a straw poll. I'm interested to see how many people use the region selector while they're traveling versus how many people do this. You know? It's interesting seeing people share their screen. I feel like a lot of people use the map before because you know you have to kind of memorize which area is in which region, which can be a little tricky. Yeah, Fort Rocks, I think, and Funko Cavern might be tied. This Hydro Trap isn't going to fare too well here, is it? Region selector for me, says Matt. Dallas uses the region selector. Roxanne says it does both. On mobile, there is a search box. That might be a welcome addition to the browser travel page as well. Yeah, we can do a couple more travels here. Just kind of demoing, like, when you travel now, you get returned to camp. So kind of be interested to get impressions and see if there's anything we're not thinking of, hey, don't you dare do that. That's an awful idea. I never want to go back to camp after I travel. See if I'm right at the top of the page. Just, you know, HUD snaps in back on my journal. I can see my trap. Good kind of feedback to, you know, often when you move, you do need to change your power type. And so just one of the largest things on the screen is the image of your trap. And hopefully that's a good, strong reminder of check which power type you're using. Or just making sure the HUD is then immediately visible. The next thing you see is that heads-up display. So if there is an error on the screen or some sort of warning about wrong power type, you get to see it immediately. Because we have to go somewhere with a HUD. One day the Tribal Isles will get heads-up displays. One magical future. Sean, you have been in every region for years, so you know them well. Salim, you're going to mention, can we have a zoom preference stored for users not just set to the default closest? That's kind of an interesting idea as well. Dave, can you make your team make the share catch FB looks like old day? I'm not quite sure if I follow you there. Salim allows zoom via mouse wheel. That might be kind of a neat addition to the travel page as well. Potato, you remember there being some issues with the HUD background during the spring egg hunt when you're on a train in Fort Rock, so there might be the highest you can get. I've sidetracked the conversation nicely now, looking for a way to get the tallest HUD, haven't I? I did a good job. YX, when will this Hunter's Horn update be released and take effect? No official release date for it yet, but hey, we're getting pretty close. We're testing it, and just kind of one important step, being as the Horn is such an iconic thing in the game, right? It's something that hunters click quite frequently when you come back to the game. It's often the very first thing you see and the very first thing you interact with. As well, it has pretty well stayed unchanged for nearly a decade and a half. So we want to make sure we haven't strayed too far from the identity of the Horn. Make sure, you know, like I said earlier, haven't kind of messed things up in a way hunters aren't going to appreciate or welcome. So this demo is definitely to kind of overall sentiments, feedback, initial impressions, that sort of thing. Help guide as we kind of wrap up testing and make sure, you know, everything's in a way that both we and players like. Daniel, is it possible to prevent friend hunt for like 30 seconds or 1 minute after travel? Maybe a novel idea, not at the moment, no. I would say disarm your bait if you don't want friends to take you on hunt is kind of probably the easiest way to get it. There's a slight delay when your horn is ready. It's nowhere near 30 seconds. I think it's just 4 or 5 seconds, if that, where friends can't bring you on hunt. Basically, friends can bring you on hunt every 15 minutes and a few seconds. There's just a few seconds buffer before you're actually eligible for a friend hunt, which means you can sound the horn more often than your friends can take you on a hunt. Actually, I think straight to camp will make changing cheese and trap and cheese quicker. Nothing bigger pain than changing area and then immediately being taken on a hunt with a friend with the wrong cheese and setup. Yeah. Never a bad idea to disarm your cheese before you're going to travel. I know, especially in the folklore forest, I've been doing that quite a bit. I'll disarm my cheese and then I'll travel from the HUD. You know, I'll kind of should have that area. Nope, that's the one area I don't have unlocked in this environment. Probably close, though. I wonder if we can do it. Let's see here. Yeah, I think we can do it. I'll often end up doing one of these. Click to disarm my cheese. Oops, I armed it. Because I had different cheese armed. Ooh, we're pushing this test server to the max. Are you okay, test server? Are you heating up a bit? All right. Got the Dragon Slayer cannon going. That's gonna work well. I'll have to do this, then get ready to hunt again. Actually, that's kind of a neat little demo as well, just kind of even arming and disarming bait. Ooh, this test server's heating up, I think. I've kind of seen, hey, ready to hunt, but I'm out of bait. Arming bait will have the horn drop down. That was one thing actually we're playing around with, because it's likely still important to know you are good to hunt. You could sound the horn right now. It's just you're out of bait. Whereas if you disarm your bait, I don't know why this is acting up here. That's the danger of doing a live demo. Right now, there's no feedback. I don't know how much time is left on my horn. So I feel like that maybe that's one thing that needs some adjustment, is you can still see the countdown timer even when you're out of bait. Matthew, you like the new design? You're looking forward to horn themes and events? Half joking. That definitely seems to be a common suggestion. If anything, a good underlying sentiment that, hey, playing with the visual look of the horn isn't too scary. Sean personally loves it. Makes a grand item even more grandiose. Mark, getting taken on by friends to hunt as a region is great, but regions like Bristol Woods are still pretty dead. Any chance of combining a couple of the lower hunting regions together? I don't think we'd want to go in that direction. I think we'd want to go in a different direction where there's just more agency and autonomy. Maybe you can like kind of form your hunting party, if you will. Get to kind of pick who gets to bring you on a hunt. It's great if a new friend starts the game and they're low level and you're high level. You can kind of pair up that way, without having to hunt in the same region. And so a little combination of everything. That said, huge grain of salt, everything just still in the ideation phase. Zero plans to bring that into the game, but that's kind of where we want to go with that. Is not just limit it to geography, but give you more agency over that and kind of control. You get to make some choices. Swift, can Brainstorm Chum be armed without bait? That is coming as part of the treasure map release. So that is one of the quality of life improvements planned for the treasure map release. You'll be able to arm Brainstorm Chum even if you have bait disarm. So you can kind of get all set to go to do your hunting, and the last thing you do is arm your bait. That's often I kind of comparing that to ready up. If you're going to play a different kind of matchmaking style game, you hit that button to say I'm ready for the match to begin. In MouseHunt, arming your bait is that thing that just makes you eligible to go on a hunt. It's like saying, hey, I'm ready to go. Maybe a respawn shield after travel, no hunts for 1 minute. Yeah, something interesting to explore. I don't think, at least in the short term, anything we'd be able to pull off, but maybe good food for thought for a future update. Ryan, usually count a few seconds because the tournament horn seems to leave a few behind if you sound it too quickly. Yeah, kind of going back to that little cooldown timer where you can sound your horn faster than a friend can. That doesn't apply to the tournament horn, though. Those are all synced up to be instantaneous because it's a much smaller group. That said, if you sound your horn and you take a friend on a hunt, and for whatever reason, maybe an error occurs or like a timeout, which can frequently happen if you're both trying to sound the horn at the exact same millisecond. You know what I mean? Like, you're ready to go and your friend's ready to go and you both click your horn instantaneously. Only one of you can actually go on the hunt, and so kind of behind the scenes there's some autonomous operation happening. It says, all right, you're locked. You're not allowed to be modified because you're modifying your own data right now. And just depending on the world of network and internet, there could be a little bit of latency there, and you decide you're trying to bring your friend on a hunt, but it's taking too long. You say, nuts to this, I'm not going to wait any longer. You still go on your hunt. So occasionally, once in a blue moon, something like that might be happening, a little timeout of sorts. Ash, speed of agency, how about the ability to remove friends who are banned? Banned people don't have the unfriend button. That certainly seems like a big oversight. Definitely could use with adding an unfriend. Even from the friends list, you can't do it. Maybe not the profile. Maybe check the friends list. I don't know. Michelle chiming in with the handy advice. Ash, use the Manage Friends page. I think that's at the bottom here. Yeah, Manage Friends. So if you go to your friends list, go to the bottom left, hit Manage Friends. You can do a whole bunch of bulk operations from here. You can remove many friends at once. You can use different sorts, and so even if you want to sort by kind of inactive people, maybe people who no longer play, to kind of make some room on your friends list. It's an easy kind of workflow to go through and figure out who you want to remove. Green, is there a way to melt your frozen fromage nowadays? I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know if it still has the button to do it. It's a handy page, especially if you want to remove a lot of inactives all in one go there. Yeah, absolutely. Where is Hunter 2? I don't know who I am. Who am I here? I am Hunter 2 in this test environment. Very creative names here. Hunter number 2. Speaking of hunting, I get to hunt. Michelle to the rescue. Michelle to the rescue. Thank you, Michelle. Has sent me an image of MouseHunt version 1. She dug it up. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Let me save these images. We'll see if we can share these in a little bit. Today's trivia may have something to do with MouseHunt version 1. Heck, you might even be able to say MouseHunt version 0. Look at that journal. That is ancient. Waves of nostalgia are just eroding me like rocks on a beach right now. All right, we'll dig into that when we get into trivia. YX, any plan to make the horn timer below 15 minutes? Absolutely not. At least not while I'm involved in any sort of decision making. No, 15 minutes is here to stay. Might have to be over my dead body kind of proposition. We'll see. No, it's just too iconic. It's such a great fit for the game. Definitely after 15 years, we're not messing with that part of it. Roxanne, the only thing you don't like about the Noon horn is the all caps feels too different. Okay, kind of that small caps font, eh? I'm forgetting even what the horn looks like right now. Is my horn ready? Yes, it is. Beautiful. Can I possibly... Let's see if I can arrange this so I can see the two horns side by side. And we might do a little check-in and some regional stuff here, but... Alright, I'm going to thoroughly confuse myself looking at two different versions of the game, but we're going to see. And yes, I'm actually in the pond in both versions. That's asking for trouble. Let me leave and go to the meadow. Test version, test. Alright. So let's see here. I'm out of bait, so the horn isn't up. Yeah, it's got to change. New horn. Camera 1. Camera 2. Camera 1. Camera 2. Yeah, very similar look and feel. Dare I say the banner's about the same size, but yeah, different font. Both sans serif. You can notice, see, I can't see where I currently am hunting while the horn is ready in the live version of the game. And now you can see a little bit of the header illustration behind it, whereas it's just solid white in the current version of the game. Kudos to Jen. You think you got them from her a few years ago. Well, thank you, Jen, wherever you are out there in the world. One of the most devoted mouse hunters of the early days. Sean, please show the snapshot you found. MouseHunt 6 months after it started on Feedback Friday. You really want to be taken back, eh? We will get into that in momentarily trivia. I'll move on very shortly. Aaron Pulley, Warcraft Stunt released a MouseHunt Classic version, eh? Can you believe it? MouseHunt version 1 predates source control. So, if you're familiar with the world of software development, you might probably be very familiar with Git and GitHub being a very popular version of that. MouseHunt is older than GitHub, if you can believe it. And actually, at that point in time, we didn't use any version control. There's Subversion kind of is the predecessor, or at least popularity predecessor to Git, and we still use Subversion for MouseHunt, but we had no version control. So it's very hard to go and find a backup of that original code because who knows where it is. It was just on hard drive somewhere, occasionally being backed up. We've changed hosting providers many times over the course of 15 years, and so I think that code is long gone. That might be for the best, too. Yoshiro, since King's giveaway event is maybe not coming this year, Cooldown timer for prize mice still working, especially Leprechaun and Mobster. Yeah, absolutely. They're always on the loose. Let me see if I can check what the current countdown is. And then I swear I'll move on. Prize mice details. What is it currently rocking at? So individual cooldown timer for a mobster is currently 120 days, and a leprechaun is 300 days. And a global cooldown timer is for a mobster is every 1.125 hours. That must be a specific number of minutes. And a leprechaun is 16.3. And the encounter rate is just shy of 1%. So almost a 1 in 100 chance to encounter. That said, the big barrier to encountering one is if you find it on that cooldown timer. So it's all up and running. Jonathan, you see that the new horn is shinier? Hopefully that's a good thing. Marg, you're liking the old horn a bit more. It's a bit rounder, softer, eh? Not as many hard edges. Wong, it's the all caps. That is the biggest thing in your opinion. And I'm trying to jot down a few notes here. Actually, maybe the current horn could be the first horn skin. Maybe just call it vintage or classic. I think to make it compatible with everything, we'd still need to update the illustration. So we have to kind of recreate the classic artwork, but in a new format that'll kind of work with this technology, to kind of put it in an oversimplified term, maybe. But yeah, that's a good candidate if we ever do explore the idea of horn skins. Having like a classic version seems like an obvious idea. Roxanne likes the header illustration being visible a lot. Looks great. That seems to be a pretty big win if everyone kind of demoed with it so far. Current seniors in high school were 2 years old during the beta. Oh dear. Time is passing. Uh-oh. Aaron, wasn't it just a Facebook game for the first few years? Absolutely, yeah. You had to sign up on Facebook. Actually, I think, let me see if I can dig this up too. We'll get a nice little walk down nostalgia lane. Oh, it's getting late. I got to move on here. Can I find what Giorgio shared? Hold on, where did he share it? I'm getting a nice collection of images. We'll get to trivia soon. I don't know where Giorgio shared it now. Uh-oh. Oh, well. All right, on that note, we should move on from the horn a little bit. Something I wanted to touch on, and if anything, if all goes according to plan, the horn will come out sooner than this change. But for the Great Winter Hunt, we've started work on the Great Winter Hunt. It's coming along relatively well so far. Lots of great progress thus far. Dev Andrew, or Cardboard Shark, as you may know him from the Discord there, has done some great work, really ahead of schedule here on the browser, HUD implementations and stuff like that. And a lot of the kind of design work is getting out of the way. But we kind of want to expand upon the idea of golems a little bit, kind of reimagine the journey of how you send out golems, give it kind of a brand new storyline, make just that experience more interesting. That was kind of some of the feedback we got. Kind of reading between the lines was there's still a lot of love for golems, but kind of how you build them, how you get the parts, how you go about that adventure is starting to feel a little stale. So we wanted to reimagine that part of it. Kind of in game design terms, you want the reward structure, and the rewards are kind of the destination, and kind of the gameplay that leads up to them is the journey. And you want both the journey and the destination to be interesting in their own way. So we've really reimagined the journey to the point where we introduced 3 new locations. And you may have seen Jacob doing some map illustrations last week on Feedback Friday for 3 Great Winter Hunt locations. Kind of everything, subject to finalization for sure. Still a bit of a work in progress. But then kind of with 3 locations, we thought, well, we want to give it its own region. It's very geographically distinct and kind of all ties in well together as one gameplay and one story arc. So that kind of led to some ideation of, do we want to apply that same philosophy to the existing regions, primarily Rodentia? Basically, you could almost think of this not so much as an update to regions, but an update to Rodentia. Basically splitting it up into smaller groups that are both grouped by geography and like story arc, like moving the Huntington into the Tribal Isles region because it is very directly located to how you first discover the Isles, how you first start exploring the sea. Moving Zugzwang's Tower and Garden, a very much higher title requirement than what you start off on your journey in Tribal Isles. Kind of starts a brand new story arc. There's a moment of closure. There's some side goals, some stretch goals, bonus mice to hunt, if you will. Kind of putting that in its own region, Zugzwang's Domain. One of the kind of odd areas out were the Sunken City, currently in a region all by its lonesome called the Sea Floor. We even modify some of the map artwork a little bit just to help tie that in. Again, as I said earlier when we're talking about the Hunter's Horn and what have you too, don't like to make too many decisions based on what ifs. One day in the future, there are some ideas about potentially adding one more location that kind of ties in with the Sunken City. That said, it's really low on the list of priorities, so who knows if it would ever see the light of the day. So I don't want that to be kind of the catalyst, if you will, that makes the decision for us. But thought we'd kind of demo some ideation we've been doing. For sure, I think the Winter Hunt would have its own location, but kind of breaking up Rodentia and kind of getting this flow where you can ask things like, hey, can you help me with Rodentia? You immediately need to ask someone a follow-up question. Well, what part of Rodentia? Because it spans multiple titles, multiple gameplay. You can have more interesting conversations. These things actually serve some purpose of saying, when you say what your favorite region is, you don't have to say, I like this region except this part of it. They all kind of have the same vibe, the same story arc sort of thing. Jonathan, Great Winter Hunt is your favorite MouseHunt event. I hope to like this year's as much as previous years. That's the hope we're going for as well. Swift says, you think the seafloor should just be the Rodentia Ocean? One thing we've struggled with that, and unfortunately I don't have a demo going for this because it's further out. So this really is just initial impression stuff. This is definitely in pencil. It's far from being written in ink type thing. It's still the Rodentia Ocean still spans this entire region. Actually, to Iceberg Alley would be a new region as well. Just kind of breaking up the ocean. It's still the Rodentia Ocean, but kind of, it's like the Northern Atlantic and the Southern Atlantic, if you will. It's one big ocean, and you can kind of break it down into different regions of the ocean. And the seafloor focusing more on that seafloor that you're exploring. If there ever was some destination your sub's trying to reach, it would be a nice conclusion moment to kind of close off that story arc. But kind of wanted to make that distinction between the Tribal Isles is still in the middle of the Rodentia Ocean. So trying to kind of come up with a unique name that just has that. Rodentia Depth suggests Chris there. That's a pretty good suggestion as well. I don't think anyone uses Rodentia as reference. Exactly, right? It kind of doesn't serve a meaningful purpose right now. It's definitely a piece of lore, a little piece of trivia in the game. Hey, what's the name of that ocean that has 1 billion locations in it? But it doesn't serve a purpose to kind of anchor the storyline, or even when you see this list in order, the game's not perfectly linear, but now it's roughly low level to high level. Kind of you start here and you end up at the bottom. It kind of serves a bit more feedback mechanism, can kind of center some conversations now around the Tribal Isles, right? The Huntington is what takes you there. Cape Claude is kind of your base of operations where you get some trap upgrades. You have all the individual tribes that all have their individual power types that leads to the Jungle of Dread, leads to Dracano, and then you kind of have a little side quest of Balak the Banished there as well. But it all kind of is under that same umbrella, that kind of story arc of the moment when you slay that dragon and you reach the title of Knight. It's this moment of closure and you're ready to kind of turn the page to a new chapter. It's almost like these regions are now chapter in one big book, but each region now has a beginning, middle, and end. Even the Sandtail Desert, kind of the Marching Flame is besieging Murday Market, and you save Murday Market, which opens up the Living Garden, and which lets you kind of discover the first kind of alternate reality of where maybe the mice are coming into Narnia from. Zugzwang Zone, please, says Samra. You like Zugzwang? You like zones? Put them together. You got Zugzwang Zone. Atlantis, maybe even Mouselantis KDM if you had to put something in front of Atlantis there. The Rodentia Depths, that's a pretty good one as well. Rodentia Depths. Where was I keeping notes? I've long lost it. I see Norm is typing. Hello, Norm. I bet you Norm's watching right now. Hope you're doing well, Norm. Where are my notes? I was messaging myself. There we go. Nathan, you loved Great Winter Hunt as a first timer last year, but you really hope if decorations stay similar, it would influence the attraction rate of those mice even more and make mapping so much more fun. That was one of the big draws as well from some of the ideation. I don't want to go too far into the Great Winter Hunt because that'll likely be a topic for a future Feedback Friday, but by splitting it into 3 areas, no more decorations because areas are already an existing kind of thing in the game, a mechanic that influences the mice that you can encounter. And so by making 3 areas, and obviously you have event cheese and standard cheese, that gives you 6 encounter pools of mice, right? So that kind of fulfills the same purpose decorations did, but you don't have to learn a new kind of rule set. Like what are HUD decorations? How do those work? I've never been able to decorate a HUD before, but ever since the start of your MouseHunt career, you have been traveling to different locations and there's different mice in different locations. So it just feels a lot more cohesive, kind of true to core game mechanics. Norm's a fan of Zugzwang Zone. Redemptia Depths, the Sunken City Lost Trench coming soon, trademark pending, eh? That is kind of one thing, again, it's really low on the priority list, but some ideation around kind of a moment of closure. I failed to catch again, darn it. A moment of closure on the Sunken City. I almost said Sunk Swang. I just combined Sunken and Zugzwang. Sunken City doesn't have that nice beginning, middle, and end. Yes, there's kind of getting Tritus, but because it's a never-ending journey at the bottom of the sea, I feel like it could still use that, like, I did it, end of completion, or end of storyline moment. And that's kind of why there's always been a few ideas percolating around, always rising back up to the surface now and then about adding one more area. That said, huge grain of salt. I think we want to add much higher level locations for the foreseeable future before we kind of revisit any of the mid game. And 2, night really needs some love as well. It's pretty darn thin. That's kind of where we see a lot of players are done everything, but they haven't leveled up yet. So it kind of needs a little bit more meat in the middle of the sandwich. But right now we're kind of maybe adding some more bread on top. How far can I push that metaphor? Too far. That's how far. And a rift at the bottom of the ocean. Well, the Sunken City expansion can be high level. Yeah, I suppose it could be. That is one way to go with it. But it does feel a bit odd that you start this story, at Count and maybe you don't finish it till Viceroy. It would feel a bit odd. So anyway, total sidetrack, huge grain of salt, 0 plans to add any area there. But there's been some ideas. Every once in a while, it kind of bubbles back up to the surface. And, we spend 10 minutes just on a little creative tangent, just kind of brainstorming. And that often, plants the seed of inspiration for an area or something like that. Matt, Dave, that really is too many grains of salt in this Feedback Friday. Time for the salt mines. Oh, dear. Well, on that note, let's get to the trivia question here. It's almost 11:50. That's usually when I like to take a look. And I, for the life of me, can't remember if I hid the answer. So let me check that before I pull that up. I sure did. I don't know if I have the right reward link. We're just going to knock on wood and hopefully I pasted in the new reward link. Bear with me in case I didn't. But here, we'll get the trivia going. And this trivia is a walk down memory lane. How the heck do I change? There it is. And now this is kind of some behind the scenes knowledge. So you've been a mouse hunter for quite a long time to maybe have a hope of having a guess at this. So this might be the first time ever we've stumped someone, although I think we've shared this info at some point on Feedback Friday over the years. What led to the addition of the Hunter's Horn during the game's original beta period? So the beta version of the game, there was no Hunter's Horn. There was absolutely no Hunter's Horn. And just the game would send you on a hunt once every 15 minutes. You didn't have to take an action. Just the game played itself entirely passively. It was all just pure trap checks. But that didn't work. And I think for the best, because it's a lot more fun being able to sound your horn than if the game plays itself while you're away. I think it ultimately was accidentally on purpose good design. What could have possibly led to that? And David says lack of engagement. No, nothing quite that cerebral or nothing that quite intentional. Swift says server overload. You might be close, but not quite. You're warm, but not that warm. Giorgio bought a toy trumpet. No, Michelle, although that seems like a plausible alternate reality of what would happen there. Lee says, before my time, data limits with mouse IDs. No, Chris, I think we might stump. This might be the very first time we've had a trivia question that might just not be possible to answer for a player. Giorgio sneezes, guesses KDM. Nope, not quite. Matthew says the overload of server trap checks. Nope, not quite. Getting warm, but not quite there. I will say, though, long ago, trap checks did work in a different way where actually the server was generating your trap check for you. And a little kind of technical sidetrack here. Now, when you return from the game knows, oh, you haven't played in 4 hours. I need to give you 4 trap checks. And that's what gives you your trap check because, yes, the servers were getting overloaded as more and more people started to play. And the trap checks eventually took over an hour to process. And so they'd start to overlap. And then that started to just, exponentially create a negative feedback loop. Facebook API limits, getting a little warmer. Nothing to do with Facebook, but server load, limitations, API, restrictions put upon us by other people, things that aren't in our realm of control, that's getting warmer. Testers needed a way to force hunts. Ooh, that's a good guess, but no. Glitch pause. This would be long before the invention of glitch pause. Ash's server overload thing was because everyone went on the hunt at the same time for their hourly check. That's when they changed to different groups every 15 minutes. Yep. Long ago, everyone got their trap check every hour on the hour, but you would notice it was almost like we had to add more servers for about 10 minutes every hour and then bring them back down. So we kind of spaced everyone's out and that kind of smoothed things out. Otherwise, we were always running at 150% capacity 99% of the time just for that little surge. Dave slipped and hit his head on the toilet. Matt, I don't like this this intimidating guess. No, definitely not right. Because Ronza requested it to mark an active user. Nope, Mr. Piper's porn. You DDoSed yourself with the horns. Not quite. You agree with Michelle to mark an active user. Nope. Too many screen lockups. Server was getting too hot. I think we've done it. I think I have to share the answer. What does everyone think? Do we think we've stumped? You know what? Darren is getting... Actually, no, we're getting warmer. Darren is the closest thus far with cloud server query limits. I'm going to say if you replace one word in that guess with a different noun, you've got the correct answer with cloud server query limits. And it's just red hot now. We're just oh so close. You were one word away from the correct answer. Database query limit, nope. It was a limitation. It was a limitation on something and had something to do with servers. And bonus marks for using the word cloud server nonetheless as well. That was a cloud server we were using. The game ran on cloud services on launch and it transitioned to actual physical hardware that we leased, and then it went back to cloud services when the cloud infrastructure of the world got a heck of a lot better. How long have we been going? We're almost 5 minutes here. We'll say uncle soon. Cloud server data limits? No. You might need a little bit of a technical background to know the right. Well, we're so close. So cloud server blank limit. Fill in the blank. Cloud server blank limit. Oh, so close. It's not data limit. It's not query limit. It's not memory limit. It's not a bandwidth limit. Long guesses. If you're a Linux server administrator out there, think about the things that you need to set up on a server. All the things you can set up. What might you be limited by? Call limits. Ooh, so close. So close. Time. Get request. Login. Connection. Thread. Processing. User. Nope. Rate limit. Packet. Nope. Latency. Bandwidth. Nope. Server IP. Oh, so close. Think about... The horn is something you can do every now and then. It's like an appointment. It's like something that runs on a clock. Something that happens in chronological order. Somewhere in the last 15 seconds, I basically said the answer. But we're going to need a Linux administrator to get it. Job, Chris is blazingly red hot. What kind of job? Cron jobs. Tim, you have won. You are clearly a server administrator of some sort. It was cloud server cron limitations. We could only run like a single cron at a time. And a cron job on a server is an automated process. The cron will run on a schedule of your choosing. You can set up a cron to run every second, every minute, every hour, every 90 seconds, whatever you want. And we were limited by setting up those crons. We didn't have access to set up cron jobs on that very budget servers that we ran during the beta because, well, we were broke and we were wondering just how long we were able to keep these servers up and running for. And so we were not able to set up those cron jobs. We were limited by that So that is indeed the correct answer. We're going to see if I remembered to copy and paste the answer correctly. Let's find out. I'll put this in the chat for your clicking convenience. I'll test it as well to make sure it's the right reward link. It might be last week's. No, it is the correct one. It is Super Brie from Larry the Friendly Knight. That was arguably the most challenging trivia of all in Feedback Friday history, but a little bit of history of the game, technical limitations pertaining to how often automated processes can run, which are called cron jobs. In the original design of the game, it was just the server was just going to keep sending a hunt every while. Little did we know that would not scale very well with the number of people who would end up playing the game. Now, here, I want to squeeze this in. I'm going on forever here, but I wanted to share some screenshots that Michelle shared of what the original version of the game looked like. Here was the header in MouseHunt version 1 during that beta period. You can compare and contrast here. This was the oldest one I could find with this old travel header with the kind of the battlements across the top. But Michelle was able to find this version of the game that existed for a few months. Matt says, time to sound my cron job horn. Cron for chronological jobs. They run on a clock. Matthew, happy your cron jobs are all set up on your server. No more fiddling with those. Super challenging trivia. Nice one, says Schmick. That image predates the Big Bang, says KDM. Yeah, this one's got some age on it here. And let me see. Where did I save the other one? Here was the Hunter's Journal. Y'all ready for this? This was the Hunter's Journal. There we go. Here, I'll put the header on top of the journal because otherwise that's going to look weird. Yeah, just align that nicely. Look at this beautiful version of the game. Isn't she lovely? I like the misaligned text as well. Somewhere score, 9 points, just score. Friends online, see friends online, because I'm pretty sure we didn't know what database indexes were at the time. So every time a query ran, basically the game crashed, fresh out of college. And yeah, you couldn't see your friends online without clicking that page because displaying it on the camp would just bring things to a grinding halt. So I'm glad to report over the course of 15 years, we have learned how database indexing works to be able to write queries that aren't slow. GeoPages wants their design back, says Hank. That cuts deep, Hank. That cuts deep. It really looks ancient. Please post the old log. There you go. Yeah, not even an image, just a little icon of Swiss cheese. That's all you get. One magical future the journal should have even more artwork in it. I don't know how you feel, but I would certainly, at least for my most recent catch, like to see an image of the whole mouse, not just that little thumbnail. I feel like the best part of the game are all the wonderful illustrations the art team put together, and just being able to celebrate those more and more would be nice. The amount of power, 0 power. I bet you something glitched out. I think because Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were able to grab Jen share this way back then. So maybe it was from an old bug report during the beta. But this is what it looked like during the beta version that we ran with kind of friends and family to test out the game. And we kind of figured we were on to something as everyone was just playing it absolutely obsessively. And then this existed for a few months. And then basically so many people started to play that just, wow, we, fresh out of college, we did not know how to handle that much traffic. And we desperately rewrote the game as quickly as we could. And this interface was laid to rest with that rewrite. When V2 came to be, we're now in version 3, and who knows what the future may have to hold. I don't know what comes after 3. 4? I guess 4, yeah. 4 comes next. Math checks out. Maybe an option for a verbose journal that would have the big pick? Yeah, absolutely. Again, super, ideation phase is just always kind of blue sky feature we would kind of ideate now and then of just kind of making the Hunter's Journal a lot better. That said, it's one of our huge technical challenges. One of the oldest systems in the game. It's very hard to modify. So it's hard to get in there and make it better. But it's definitely something we would like to do. Now you have to dig up a picture of the high-five version of the game. That's decently old. That looked the same, at least. It's just framed in a different social framework. But The great Warbook migration of fall 2008. Yeah, had a lot of players play MouseHunt that used to play Warbook or both at the time. Icon selection is art by itself, says Jason. Who's writing the history of the MH book? Is there one in the works? A little bit, not too much to share there, but there's certainly some fun stories to explore. We need a history of MouseHunt feedback Friday stream, eh? We did do a little behind-the-scenes history of a release, but the whole game would certainly be fun. But we'd have to dig up a lot of stuff like this, and I bet you it would come up. A lot of it would come from players. Who knows how many people have kind of screenshots and video recordings of things they've shared over the years, things that they've kept. Chris asks, when did we stop catching unique mice? Oh boy, that was also a doozy. Not to go too far down memory lane here, but originally every hour the game just spawned mice, and every mouse had an individual identity sitting somewhere. Now, billions of mice have been caught, so that would be a lot of scaling infrastructure required if we had stuck with that. But at the time, that's where mouse weights came from, is every time a mouse got away from a trap, it gained 1 ounce for the cheese that it just stole. So when you captured a mouse and it weighed 8 ounces, you knew 7 people failed to catch it before you got that individual mouse. That's it. It was a bit of a scaling nightmare. It's definitely novel, and you could pull it off still. But the sort of the effort and expense of doing so probably doesn't warrant that sort of like novelty effect that it has. So it's probably, a good compromise now to do away with the individual mouse identities. Sean, a lot of fan stories out there. You stopped mine, but there are many others still writing. Can we pay premium to sound the horn faster instead of every 15 minutes? YX, I'm going to go out and just say absolutely not. At least not while I have anything to do with the game. No. That feels a little pay to win, and it just goes really against the identity of the game. After 15 years, I can't imagine us touching that 15-minute timer. I mean, never say never, but I certainly can't even imagine it now. But hey, who knows what the future may have to hold. Your thought processes change over the years, but definitely no plans anyway. Aaron, some mice would weigh tens of thousands of pounds. It was always funny to see the leprechaun, for sure, because the leprechaun, I think, would be like 94 pounds before somebody finally got the leprechaun. At the time, the best trap in the game was the mouse death bot, and the leprechaun was probably, I don't know, like 8-10 times stronger than it is now, if easily. We've definitely made it a little easier to catch over the years. So it would just be impossible. It would be like a 1 in 10,000 chance to catch that sucker when it shows up and you have the death bot. And it would just be I just pictured this big old leprechaun. You just have to roll it, just rolling around. Has its own gravitational pull by the time somebody would finally catch it. Pack a day, please say never. 15 minutes is perfect. I can't imagine a future where we change that, but hey, I'm sure if you look back many years, you can't imagine the current present day, right? So never say never, but certainly no plans in the immediate future. And I can't imagine that changing. All right, lots of nostalgia rolling out in the chat. Are we at the hour mark? Yes, we are. An hour and 6 minutes in, and we should probably wrap up. What do you think? What do you think, everybody? Well, again, quick little recap. Again, announce it right off the bat, but hey, if you're just joining us, please help spread the word that there will be no Feedback Friday next week. No Feedback Friday next week. Next week, there will be no Feedback Friday. That is September 23. Nania, help me. I'm looking at a calendar, all right? September 23. That is next Friday. Has to be. Come on. 16 plus 7 is 23. September 23. On September 23, there will be no Feedback Friday. Jacob will most likely join you on September 30, the following Feedback Friday. And then I will likely join you on October 7. I'm really pushing my luck. I've said 3 or 4 dates in rapid succession. Clearly one must be wrong. But both Jacob and I won't be here. We're off next Friday. And so that's kind of the Feedback Friday in a bit of a limbo. We're going to just kind of skip one. Jacob's back to join you that Friday. And then I'm still away on that Friday. So I'll be back the subsequent one. So we'll put up a ticker. We'll take down the reminder banners as well. And set a little reminder to re-enable them the following week. Christopher says on October 7, announce Halloween. No promises, but that'll most likely be the plan. We'll do a little run through of Halloween. Baba Gaga will make a return with some new potions to find. Maybe even a new unique one for the Folklore Forest. Is that too spoilery? Hopefully that wasn't too spoilery. Too late. I already said it. and a few quality of life improvements, a few tweaks to the event, but for the most part, the same event that everyone seemed to love last year. And it was very well received, so Baba Gaba will make a return. Chris says, why no Lorman Feedback Friday? Norm does seem to be warm to the idea of hosting Feedback Friday, but we have to get them all set up. So it's probably not the best time to do it right off the bat there before we get them set up. But even in the not too distant future, if he's still open to that idea, we'll get him set up with some with the software and access to everything. But might be a bit of a rush to set it all up while we're away. Let Giorgio run Feedback Friday next week. What could go wrong? Giorgio's away next week as well. We're tempting fate a little bit, but actually both he and I will be away. And Jacob's away. It's going to be a slightly lonelier around here, I guess. Hank says, you've already shown us the Stormy Potion icon. Yes, indeed. A couple of weeks ago, we did kind of tease that a little bit. It's going to be coming out with the Folklore Forest treasure map release. You have that to look forward to next. Everything looks to be on track. That's probably going to launch the last Tuesday of September if all goes according to plan. We look to be on track there. That'll have a new potion, some new map rewards, some new quality of life stuff. A whole lots of fun. And then Halloween will roll out shortly thereafter in October. I don't remember the date that we have slotted in there for, but I think it's remarkably close to what it launched last year. So, Jonathan, have a good weekend. You as well. Joel, maybe Michelle could host. We'll have to see what she thinks about that. Michelle says glitch pause next Friday then. That was something else I meant to jot down. Sooner than later, did want to kind of have a permanent way to discover glitch pause in the game. That seems to come up on Feedback Friday now and then. See you, Dave. I think that's my cue to skidoo. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, everybody, or the weekend ahead. It's only Friday. Please let us know what you think of this work we've been putting into the horn. Let us know, hey, are we on the right track? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Somewhere in between. We want to make sure it's a change that hunters will welcome with open arms and hopefully not upset anybody by changing something that's been so iconic in the game for so long. As well as one more little quick shot at this little region. Just, again, ideation. We'll probably have a new region for the winter hunt. But splitting up Rodentia, what do you think? Is that kind of, is don't touch it, what are you doing? If it's not broke, don't fix it? Or, hey, does that kind of look and feel better? Make it easier to digest how you progress through the game? Let us know what you think. Have a wonderful weekend. I won't see you for 2 weeks, but I'll be back in October. Happy hunting, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I'll catch you next time. So long. I'm trying to find the goodbye. There it is. Happy hunting, everybody. I'll see you in October. And no Feedback Friday next week. Jacob will pop in the following week, though.
1, 2. You're a trap. Don't seem to mind it. You attract me. I'm a mouse. You're a cat. I don't seem to mind it. Soft and furry. Oh, and just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Just when you think you're safe, snap. I come back. You don't seem to mind it, but I'm a fool. Broke my back. You don't seem to mind it, 'cause you're so cool. And just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Ooh. And just when you think you're safe, snap. Turns out